Morning, everybody. As you're joining us, we have a session this morning with Mike Veny, all the way from New York. And yes, it is 2 o'clock in the morning there. So we really appreciate Mike making such an effort. But I think it's a demonstration on how committed he is to our customers, to our team in South Africa, and yeah, he's really looking forward to spending time with us in South Africa this year. Making a couple of trips. So, Mike is a speaker that is relatable across all generations and industries. So, that makes it very easy for us all in terms of how we position him, the dream, right? And over and above that, he provides an experience, the word we love, that incorporates energy, humor, audience reflection, drumming. Yes, he does drumming sometimes. He's a professional drummer in the background, and interaction. So, these are all key things that we kind of look for in a speaker where we can, right? So a little bit more about Mike professionally. He is a globally respected mental health and workplace wellness keynote speaker and certified corporate wellness specialist, um, who helps organizations turn mental health from a sort of you know, a topic that not all of us know how to approach as well as we should, into performance, resilience, and a cultural advantage. I love these words, Mike, and I love what you do. What sets Mike apart is that he combines his lived experience with anxiety, depression, OCD. A lot of us can relate to all of that, I'm sure, with practical business relevant strategies that audiences can apply immediately. He speaks the language of business, not therapy, burnout prevention without lowering standards. And if that's not enough for us all, he is recognized as 100 most influential people in the healthcare industry by the PM 360 Elite Awards. I mean, wow, well done and a remarkable achievement like this, and taking this topic, very important topic to my mind, to new heights. So take us away this morning.
Awesome.
Very good
Thank
morning,
you.
Benny.
And thank you everyone for being here today. And I just want to let you know something. I know that you are on this, checking this out, looking to explore, but I want to make you a promise right now. If you pay attention, by the end of this 20-minute session, you're going to get something that you can actually start using in your life in the next 24 hours to help yourself or someone else. That's my guarantee to you. About this content that you're about to look at, this learning experience is informed by psychological research and reviewed by experts. So I'm not a mental health professional, but it's reviewed by professionals. And it's going to give you tools, tips, and strategies to improve your well being. Disclaimer: if you feel triggered, again, I'm not a mental health professional, and if you are in crisis, it's important that you seek professional help. Now, let's talk about that word triggered for a second because we use it a lot. This was very triggering. Oftentimes, we're using it incorrectly. We say it because we simply feel uncomfortable with something, but when you're triggered, you spiral into a mental health crisis. So that leads me to the next point. Be emotionally well, my company trademark. I have to see this trademark every single day, and I want to be honest with you, it makes me mad because sometimes I think it should mean feel good. But being emotionally well is about showing up for your emotions, like all of them, including the ones you don't like. And our mission is to support people in discovering this gift of emotional wellness through unique learning experiences designed to empower your personal and professional growth. If you have not been out in the world lately or read the news, you might not have noticed this, but people are dealing with anger, grief, and fear at an unprecedented level. They are struggling with anger, grief, and fear. And it's something that I know well. I love telling people about my kitchen, and I got to tell you about my kitchen. And by the way, if I come to South Africa at some point, I'm a foodie. I just want to let you know that in advance. I like good food. But my kitchen has pretty much one appliance, an oven. But it's not a normal kitchen oven. It's an industrial strength restaurant oven. It's got four burners. Typically simmering in the frying pan on the top right is my obsessive compulsive disorder. I'm giving you a virtual presentation right now, but I'm obsessing about multiple things as I'm trying to concentrate. On the lower right burner is my anxiety. Now, I don't know how I'm coming off to you, but I know how I feel in my chest. It's hard for me to do this. And on the top left, simmering is my anger and depression. But on the bottom left, there's a stock pot. So I can take the ingredients from each frying pan, my OCD, my anger, my depression, anxiety, put it into the stock pot, close the lid, and turn up the heat. That's a party waiting to happen in my kitchen. And if you're following me so far, the kitchen I'm talking about is not in my home, it's in my head. I have been battling with mental illness my entire life. And when we talk about mental health and mental illness, we're really talking about three things: thoughts, feelings, and behavior. What's interesting about that is we don't have the technology yet to see someone's thoughts. We might, though, soon. Who knows, right? We like to think we can perceive each other's feelings, especially with emojis. We can't always, but you can absolutely observe someone's behavior, especially in the workplace. And that's where my journey began with behavior. I grew up in Long Island, New York, and please take a moment to look at that hair right there. This would be a totally different presentation if I had that hair. And my mom was my biggest fan. She passed away in 2016. Now, moment of honesty, that slide is not for you. The slide is for me because in the spirit of be emotionally well, it allows me to let whatever emotions need to come up. Sometimes I might cry when I see it. Sometimes I just pause and have to get myself together. This is my dad. We took this picture a few weeks ago. He says hello, and he is still alive and supportive of me. But something changed when my younger brother Jason was born. That's when the behavior problems started. In fact, my parents said, "We're going to take pictures of this so you can remember one day." And this is me acting out on the left here, and my brother behind me. They said, "We're going to never let you forget it." And the other one on the right, I was just screaming and yelling. And by the end of first grade, my parents had had enough with me getting in trouble. They said, enough is enough with your behavior. So they decided to pull me out of public school and put me in a place called Catholic school. You know, this is not going to go well, but I still have to tell you about it. Long story short, I got expelled from that school. And I then had to go to another school. And my parents found a public school where my uncle was the principal. And long story short, 3 weeks, several fights, and a desk mysteriously flying out of my hands in the direction of my teacher. I was expelled from that school. So by the time I had gotten to fourth grade, I'd been expelled from school a few times. But like the remainder of fourth grade, best school year ever, I got to stay home every day. And I got to just have this tutor come to the house. This woman was so scared of me. She wouldn't make eye contact with me. The summer between fourth and fifth grade, my parents took me to see the Batman movie. And just want to clarify this because I take my superheroes seriously. The Batman movie I'm talking about is not that Christian Bale or the Ben Affleck. It's Michael Keaton starring as Batman, and Jack Nicholson was the Joker. But for some reason, that movie spiraled me into a rage. We all snap sometimes. That's life. But I went into a rage. And the next thing I know, this was going on for hours, I was put in a mental hospital. And that's a scary place to be when you're a kid. Fast forward to seventh grade, I'm a lot bigger and I'm a lot stronger, and I'm going into rages more at home. And honestly, I want to be just very transparent with you. When you're in seventh grade going into rages, that's not a rage anymore. It's called violence. I'm ashamed to admit it, but it's the truth about what happened. And I believe in transparency when talking about it. And I was just out of control. And by the time I had finished 10th grade, I had been expelled from three schools, hospitalized in a mental hospital three times, several suicide attempts, lots of self harm, violent at home, on five different mental health medications, and on a first name basis with the local police. Now, I thought I had it good because no school wanted me, but I didn't realize that change was ahead. That summer between 10th and 11th grade changed my life, and I want you to listen very carefully to what happened. That summer, my mom approached me with a question. She asked me, "What would make you happy?" This question threw me because no one ever asked me that. They tell me I needed to get my act together and learn to behave, but no one ever asked me what would make me happy. And I was confused by it. So I thought about it and thought about it and realized the only thing that would make me happy is playing the drums. I just want to play drums all day. So my mom looked at me and smiled and said, "Thank you for telling me," and walked away. What just happened here? Well, for the next several days, she's in her bedroom on the phone making phone calls about me. Something's going down. And she finally said she found a performing arts high school that would be willing to accept me despite my track record if I could pass the audition. Well, I worked really hard on that audition. I'm proud to say I got accepted into the Long Island High School for the Arts. By the way, that's me on the drums right there. Take a moment of silence to look at that hair and those sideburns right there. I was cool back in the day. And there I was amongst my fellow artists. And that actually led to my career as a professional drummer. Nowadays, I still play professionally. In fact, moment of transparency. I'm doing this at 2 a.m. It was at 11 o'clock. a few hours ago that I finished a performance in New York City at 54 Below, which was the basement of the famous Studio 54. So I'm still a drummer to this day. And one of the things that I do is drumming in the workplace. I get to bring in my instruments and think about it. In a world that's very divided, it's a great opportunity to get people working together. So this is just a little bit about me, and I tried to summarize it here. But now I want to talk about some tools that I've learned that my company has gathered that you can start using today. And we're going to talk about self care, everyone's favorite subject. And we're going to talk about this in a brand new way because here's the problem with talking about self care. And to be honest with you, people bring up self care to me. I just want to like roll my eyes. When we talk about self care, we think this is what self care is right here. We think this is what self care is. Let me break this down for you. This is luxury. This is vacation. That's not self care, okay? Self care is technically anything that you do for your health when you're not in the presence of a medical professional. So if you washed your hands, which I hope you do, that's self care. If you brush your teeth, that's self care. It's what you do for your health. And there are three types of self care for daily living, coping, and healing. There are things you need to do every day for yourself, things you need to have prepared to cope, and things you need to do to heal. But I want to be honest with you. When it comes to self care, you have to differentiate activities that are escape activities from self care activities. Escape activities allow you to escape from your thoughts and feelings, but self care activities, you have to show up. Now, in this little photo, you can see me meditating. I do that twice a day. That's a self care activity. I have to show up for my thoughts and feelings. And here is an escape activity. I love going to Las Vegas, Nevada, and I'm going there actually this week. And it's really fun. It's like Disney World for adults. But it's important to be honest with yourself. There's nothing wrong with escaping. The key is being honest with yourself. Am I escaping or am I doing self care? There's something I know about you. By the way, I got a brand new camera for this presentation here, and there's something I can hold on. I can do this. You got multiple tabs open on your computer, and you're doing multiple things at once. I can see. I can see you through the camera. I'm joking. I really can't see you. We all have many open loops in our minds right now. I do too, as I'm giving this presentation. One of the best ways to deal with those open loops is something called a brain dump. Brain dump is when you take out a piece of paper and write down everything that's on your mind. And truthfully, if you're overwhelmed right now, like just there's a recording of this presentation. So you can watch it whenever. Take out a piece of paper and just write down everything that's on your mind. I would love to tell you it's going to take away all of your challenges. It's not, but it's going to make them more manageable. Now, for those of you that are thinking, well, okay, this is great, but Mike, I'm really too busy for self-care. Like you got to understand my life. I don't have time. We're going to end that once and for all right now. Here's self-care that you can do no matter how busy you are. Pause and ask yourself, what am I feeling specifically? In fact, ask yourself now. You don't need to answer me in the chat. Ask yourself, what am I feeling specifically? Where is it located in my body? And what do I need right now? Let's break this down for a moment here. So, I asked myself this question the other day. I woke up and I was just feeling something was wrong. What am I feeling? I think I'm anxious. I'm stressed. Sometimes I can't identify the feeling, and that's okay if you can't identify it. By simply asking the question, you start to gain awareness. And also, in terms of the workplace, this starts to go right into emotional intelligence, which is a very popular topic. In fact, in my opinion, this is the foundation of it right here. Where is it located in my body? There's a book called The Body Keeps the Score that has taken over the world of mental health that talks about the fact that we store emotions in our body. Learn to locate it. So, in that morning, I asked myself, what am I feeling? Anxious. Where is it located? Well, I'm kind of feeling it in my stomach. Do I need right now? Well, I've been traveling a lot, so maybe I just need some water. That's all I needed for self care. Sometimes you just need to step off your computer and put down the phone for a little. Sometimes you might need a hug. What am I feeling? Where is it located? And what do I need right now? The next thing I'm going to share with you is one of the most innovative self care tools that you probably have never heard about castles. You all know what a castle is, right? Okay, some of you are looking confused, like you don't know what. Okay, I'm going to explain what a castle is. It's a giant brick building from medieval times surrounded by a body of water called a moat. Because you couldn't just like walk up into a castle, they would have to let the drawbridge down for you. If you're not watching me right now, can you just take a moment to stop what you're doing and just watch me on the screen? Castles were intentional about who and what they let the drawbridge down for. After this presentation is done, and I go off Zoom, chances are the first thing I want to do is pick up this device right here and check it. Why? Well, you just got to check your phone. Why? We are not stressed out by social media and the news. We're stressed out by the habit we have around this, and we're letting the drawbridge down for it all the time. Start thinking about who and what you're letting the drawbridge down for. The final thing that I want to share with you is the importance of seeing others and being seen. And I love talking about this on a virtual presentation. If you've been watching me, you'll notice that there are moments I take, and I'm doing this intentionally. I come up to the camera like this. Why am I doing that? I'm doing it so you could feel seen. And here's a tip for you when you're on a virtual meeting one on one. If you just take a moment to just look into the camera like this and imagine looking into the person's eyes, I'm sure on the other end, you can feel that. It's a great way to connect with people. And in the real world, non-virtual world, I want to challenge all of you in the next 24 hours when you, I don't know, interact with someone you work with. Just take a moment to look into their eyes and see their humanity and let them see yours. Now, please don't stare. Mike Veny didn't say be creepy. Okay, don't be weird. Don't be weird. Okay. But the key is to see others and be seen. But you also might ask, Mike, how does that work with someone who's visually impaired? Well, it's very simple. You see them by being present with them, and you allow yourself to be seen by being vulnerable with them. The way I started this presentation, I brought up anger, grief, and fear. These three emotions are causing lots of problems, but I want to share a secret with you, like a secret that you don't know. And honestly, it makes me emotional to share this secret because I think it would have helped my mental health growing up. I don't think I would have been in the mental hospital so many times. And the secret is this: anger, grief, and fear are three of the absolute best emotions you can have. And you need them, and you need to chase them more, especially at work. Let me explain. Let's talk about fear. When you don't deal with fear, it becomes anxiety. If you got anxiety, it's going to make it worse. But when you learn to sit and feel your fear and talk about it with a mental health professional, fear quickly transforms into vision and courage. Then there's grief. And if you're grieving right now, my heart goes out to you. There's nothing that I can say that can take away that. But grief, when you don't deal with it, becomes depression. And if you got depression, it's going to make it worse. But when you learn to sit with your grief, and this is very difficult because grief might be the most difficult emotion, when you learn to sit with your grief over time, it transforms into joy. But you have to be willing to do the work. But I've saved the best for last: anger. You're saying that we need anger in the workplace? Yes. I didn't say hostility and violence. Those are not good. Anger by itself is just an emotion. That's all it is. When you learn to harness anger, it becomes passion, decisiveness, and leadership. It's how you get stuff done. It's how you take your power back. So, all of that being said, I want to thank you so much for listening to my presentation here. And if you're interested in working with me, I would love to talk with you. And I invite you to contact Unique Speaker Bureau, and they can handle all of your questions and connect us.
Thank you, Mike. It was a well, it was a very compelling presentation, I have to say, and I really feel for you as it's always difficult when kids are affected by things, and yeah, I mean, I'm sure most, if not all of us on the call could relate to your story about what happened to you personally, and thanks for being vulnerable. That was yeah, Joe, I can't even imagine what that must have been like for you, and probably
Mhm.
compounds. But no one, it feels like no one was helping you to channel all those key things, particularly the anger, maybe. But Mike, it certainly has shaped you to who you are now, and well done for challenging it yourself. Um, I wanted to. A lot of us on the call are interested in where we could utilize you. What sort of conferences are you going to have the biggest impact at? That sort
Mhm.
of thing. And just on the research I've done on you and from what we know, I would say leadership conferences would be up there. Employee engagement, culture initiatives, DEI. It's a big thing in South Africa, and for a lot of companies around the world. And not just South Africa, in Africa itself. It's all about how do we be more inclusive and welcome people's what might appear to be challenges and turn them into passions. Um, Change, transformation, burnout environments, global multicultural audience seeking a human but professional approach. Would you agree with some of those kind of and have you any particular favorites of your own? that you would
Absolutely. Yeah, one of my biggest clients is Johnson and Johnson, the
yeah.
pharmaceutical company, and I opened up their DEI conference last year with drumming, actually. And it was a combination of the drumming and speaking. And one thing you should know is, oh, I didn't tell you, I travel with a West African drum in all my keynotes. So they don't just get slides. They get drumming in there too because it's part of my story and I think it's a great way to just engage the audience and give them something a little different. But yes, I do a lot of healthcare, I do a lot of leadership, and I tend to function very well as a highly energetic keynote that connects with the audience. That's where I think I'm best. But I also sometimes do breakout sessions too on self-care. So it can really vary, but I'm very big on finding out from the client what's really going on with the audience that we need to cater this towards, because in different cultures they have different ways of talking about mental health and wellness. For example, I was working with one country where they don't use the word suicide, and I was like, oh, well, what do you use? And died by suspicious circumstances, and I'm like, hmm. Again, I had to honor my client and relate to the people, so I had to customize it to that. So the kinds of events I do, yes, they vary, but leadership also retreats and things like that. And certain, brand events, maybe T-Mobile's having some kind of branding event. So that's really the thing, is finding out, the one that I could fit into that works with the theme that they have, and also where this emotional wellness and mental wellness thing is needed. When it comes to the drumming, though, one thing I remind people: mental health issues and people issues go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. So the drumming allows me to work on the people side.
Mm. Yeah, and provide that experience. That's one of our sayings. We provide you with more than a speaker. We provide you with an experience. So love that, Mike. Thank you. So we did have a question from I just want to see from Nikki actually from our team. So this is such a beautiful analogy, about the drawbridge. And then who and what are you letting down the drawbridge for? Got a great
well,
practical case study there, I'd say. Yeah, for
well,
us.
yeah. No, who am I letting the drawbridge down for? Ice cream.
Good.
I
I
haven't
hear
gotten
you.
ice cream and I like steak. Oh my gosh, yes. Me and food. And it's so funny. I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow, so we're gonna have to talk about this drawbridge thing. But you know
Oh
what? I
gosh.
think one of the areas, and this is very important for the workplace that I bring up, is learning to have boundaries with people. And what does that mean? That doesn't mean, you have to make them like go away, but it's important to learn to say no and figure out how to do that in a loving way. Because sometimes we fear saying no because we feel we're going to damage the relationship. So, Paul, I'm coming to South Africa and I'm like, yo, let's hang out. And you really do not want to spend any time with me. So
No, that's not
but
true.
you, you don't want to say no because you feel it might damage. So you end up saying yes and then
Yeah.
resenting the fact that you said yes. So it's important that all of us get better at practicing saying no in a way that's actually going to grow the relationship. And so that's an example of how I'm learning to use the drawbridge analogy and help with employees.
Mm, lovely, lovely, lovely. Um, okay. um, Thank you, Mike. I'm going to bring Kathy in at this stage to see. Kathy, have you got any questions for Mike that you think the team would be interested in hearing? And any other questions from the team out there for Mike? We'd love to hear from you. We've got a few minutes left.
I think what for me to try and how do you say, like, be able to sort of try and make everything into sort of your own silo so that you can focus on one thing at a time rather than you having all these things in your head and you're like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do this. What about that? I'm going to forget about that. And I think if people can get more of a structure around that sort of, the everyday mission that you have in life, I think that would be something that would be quite useful. Is that something that sort of can teach people?
Can you rephrase that a little differently? I
Uh,
wasn't fully understood that one.
Now, when your mind is just so busy at work, you've got so many things on your plate and and everything is coming at you at once and you don't really know how to, prioritize things and just make everything feel like, it's in an order. Your mind is just so busy because, like you were saying, you've got that stove going on with all the burners happening. So is that something that you actually can teach people, is to separate everything out so that you know how to, just to focus on what you need to focus on?
Yes, we talk about this in our self-care workshop. I mean, think about it. How many times during this meeting did you get a notification? Probably a bunch of times, right? We just get notifications, news, like that's just the world we live in. And that's not going to change. In fact, it's probably going to get more and more intense as time goes on. So the
Mm.
key is learning how to work with that. So I teach about that in the self-care workshops with the activity like the brain dump, but I also address the role of the central nervous system. So it's really important that you regulate your own central nervous system. And I'll tell you this briefly. I live in New York City. And I'm working with this business coach years ago. We didn't have Zoom. We were just on the phone. She had seen a picture of me. I saw a picture of her. And I was starting to brag to her that my nickname was Rocket Boots at work. And she's like, Rocket Boots? Tell me about Rocket Boots. Oh, Rocket Boots would pour the black coffee and get started and get the day going. And I'm just going on. She's like, tell me more, Mike. And I'm going. And she finally goes, can I ask you a personal question? I said, sure. She goes, how big is your waistline? Well, it wasn't small, but why is she trying to shame me? And she proceeds to lovingly give me a lesson in cortisol and the body. And that was a real eye opener for me on stress. And she really taught me that, to actually speed up, you need to slow down. Nowadays, I'm no longer doing the rocket boots thing, even though I'm up here at 2 a.m. recording this. But it's something that I teach people about regulating the central nervous system. One other thing that I do sometimes in workshops is actually give them a guided meditation from one of the apps that we have, like play it for them. Like, guess what? You get to actually do some real regulation right now for 2 minutes play.
Awesome. I think we do definitely
Right.
need that in life. I think we need sort of guidance in how to do things because it's a rat race and you just get so caught up in it. And then just to have
Absolutely.
those sort of lessons that you can sit back and go, okay, this is what I need to do. Number two, number three. Okay, now my day's, planned. I think
Yes.
those are important. Yeah.
My book, Transforming Stigma: How to Become a Mental Wellness Superhero, seems to be the one that most people buy. However, we have one called Connectivity and Conversations, which is a workplace mental health course, and Fill Your Cup: The Exhausted Educator's Guide to Emotional Wellness. During the pandemic, I lost all my speaking engagements before we learned about Zoom. And I didn't know what to do with my time because I shouldn't be bored. With my mental health stuff, I can't be bored. So I ended up getting my company accredited for continuing education by several governing bodies. And through that, we actually built courses around the world in different, topics. But we also have so many books now on different things and that we bring in experts on. So the Transforming Stigma book, it's all self-published. You're talking to the publisher. I love giving them to clients as gifts, and they would just simply have to go through me on that particular thing, or I could tell you the number and they go through you, and however you want to do it.
Does that answer your question, Clive? Because Clive had a question. Tell us briefly about your book, Transforming Stigma Workshops. He just says, great. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, lovely. Lovely. Yeah, you got it at one. Multitasking there, Mike. I must say, I love the story. You came from a very sort of tough situation that could have gone any which way, and then you channeled it into something that's just amazing. And now you're out there literally helping to transform the way people think, making companies a better place. Just it's really super. And I think Mercy is on the call. She's sort of the global business development director across the
Hi,
world
Mercy.
with Better Place to Work. And they're our partners this morning. And I think, Mercy, I'm sure you resonated really well with the story. They're also passionate about transforming company culture into something positive and amazing. She was a HR director herself for a number of years, and a great company had a terrific culture, great atmosphere. So she knows what it's like and how important it is to keep persevering, um, creating those environments. So yeah, I don't know if you've got any sort of closing comments, Mercy. I'm sure your whichever burner is burning brightly now. but, any sort of closing comments for us, Mercy? Thank you,
No,
and thank you, Mike.
thanks. And Mike, just your story is so humbling because it's exactly what Paul says. You've taken very difficult circumstances and you now use it to educate others about how important it is. And I have to be honest, I was one of those people that rolled my eyes. Self-care, really. But the practical tips that I'm walking away with, it's about daily living, it's about coping, and it's about healing. Just absolutely phenomenal. So thank you.
Well, thank you for saying that. And, in closing, I just want to say to all of you, first of all, thank you for this opportunity. But, you're doing your work, you got to go to your next meeting. Like, take care of yourselves. Like, we need you. We need you healthy and well. So I hope that you got something that you can start using for yourself today.
Absolutely.
Kathy,
Thank
will you
you.
close us out? Oh, thanks, Mercy.